see Grixis Energy and blue-black control. I think the big difference here is that Brad has more threats, so he will have cards like Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Whirler, Virtuoso. Kane will just have a little more card draw, a little more removal.
Yeah. Not a ton that you can do with these Harness Lightnings. Kane's not representing very many creatures. Some Scarab God, some Torrential Gearhulks.
Yeah, and one of the things really to emphasize in this matchup is that there's more threats than, there's more answers than threats.
Yes.
And players are going to trade off land drops to start here. So when you have that decks with only 6 threats in them, how does the pacing in this matchup work?
It actually results in games having pretty varied textures.
Okay.
Sometimes you just don't have the answers and the deck with more threats can run away. Other times, if the player drawing the threats, if the other player draws enough answers just for those threats, and then can just go over the top, has things that are more difficult to deal with, say your Scarab Gods, they're going to run away with the game. It's all just about how everything lines up, and technically you're going to give the advantage to the players just more kill spells to the deck with more creatures, but it is contextual on what order cards are drawn in. It also is just really important to continue to make land drops. Both of these decks are trying to go long. It's going to matter no matter which side of the deck of the matchup you're on.
All right, so right here we have, really only one threat was tested. Brad Nelson tried for a Whirler Virtuoso. It was hit by an Essence Scatter, and then players have played on. And Brad actually, this is a big commitment. He's going to run out Scarab God.
He's already been through one Essence Scatter. Let's see what happens now.
I'm interested here, Ryan, because seems like an important card, and there's no way Kane doesn't have an answer.
It seems pretty likely to have at least something like a Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah.
If Brad has additional Scarab God, sometimes your hand is just forced. We're talking about standard. You don't really have ways to filter through your draws. You cast the spells that you drew.
And we're going to see Vraska's Contempt used to take care of the Scarab God, 2 life gained on Kane's side. Brad's going to keep jamming mid-range threats and hope that one sticks.
Yes.
I guess by doing that, he's not giving Kane any time to cast a draw spell.
Right.
And here's another Scarab God. Tapping out again, does Brad.
There's only so many things that cleanly deal with Scarab God, so jamming makes a good amount of sense.
And there was some read, and if Brad Nelson, if you know him, is great at body language reads. The first Scarab God, Kane paused for long enough that you can assume he was deciding between answers. I'm sure when Brad made the second Scarab God, he knew it was no good.
Right.
That's just not the kind of thing. If you have watched him, Brad's not going to miss that ever.
With all these counters, contempts, it's possible that it's just no way to really convert the Scarab God if the game goes long.
Well, Brad missing 6th land for a couple turns. Here's Glimmer of Genius from Kane, and we'll see whether Brad wants to fight.
Or has the mean to. It certainly has an Essence Scatter in hand. That one doesn't fight over instants.
Yeah, you may want to give it a cursory pause just to keep your opponent guessing, even if you have nothing. Brad playing 3 copies of the Scarab God, so 1 left in the deck.
2 to the bottom for Kane.
Yeah, once they're in the graveyard, that's where they stay.
Yeah.
Well, if they went that way. Not if they die.
If they die on the battlefield, it's completely different. Yeah.
But Kane now, thanks to his extra mana, he's converting that into extra cards. Back over to Brad. There's a 6th land he'll pass.
That's a nice find.
Yeah, he's got Essence Scatter, Vraska's Contempt, and now Potential Gearhulk. We see an end-step cycling of a land from Kane. And we're just going to hang out. Kane all up to 8 lands. Says go. Does Brad want to try for a Torrential Gearhulk? He's pretty sure that one will get countered too, but you never know.
And it would be really disastrous if it was countered by a Torrential Gearhulk.
Actually, sorry, he doesn't even have an instant. Probably not worth doing.
Yeah. Just a 5/6, not great in the matchup.
No. You get these control mirrors, and I just assume everybody has a Glimmer in the graveyard at all times. It's not actually how it works.
No. Yeah, Brad's just got 2 creatures.
Players going to trade some land drops. Land 9 for Kane.
And missing that 6th land drop for a bit wasn't great for Brad, but since nothing has happened and now he started catching his land drops, the game looks pretty even.
Yeah, I mean, Kane still has an advantage that he resolved a Glimmer, so he's up a little, but that's about it. He's going to go for an end-step Torrential Gearhulk. Kane can make a play again. He does this with 4 more lands up. Brad will Essence Scatter the Gearhulk. Kane will commit to Memory. We'll see the target. He's going to target the Essence Scatter. Brad will say, okay, but then he Essence Scatters again. 4 mana spent from Brad. All his blue mana's down, though. Now Kane gets to untap main phase. Does he have something that he can do here? Some sort of way to punish before Brad untaps?
He used most of his cards.
He could use memory.
That would be dicey. Something that is kind of interesting here is Kane has produced multiple fielder runes, I believe 2 on the battlefield. Brad has 3 basic lands, and that's of the 5 in his deck. We're going to get to the point where these just destroy one of Brad's lands.
Yeah, does that, let me see, does that matter? I guess Brad has a main deck Arguel's Bloodfast. No.
It's more that if we continue playing this game where players try to do things like memory or cast Glimmer of Genius and be full on hand, the player with more mana is going to win those fights.
And Kane, he has this mana advantage. He wants to press it and didn't have any way to punish Brad for tapping out. So he actually uses the Aftermath on memory here, which I don't dislike. They're both going to get a new hand of equal cards. They're going to play a game. Yeah, Kane's tapped down this turn, but they're playing a new game. Kane with 11 lands in play and Brad with 8. So this is okay.
On 2 cards, I would assume that Kane must have just really not liked the hand to be going for the memory.
Yeah.
Because this gives the opportunity. Brad's going to be drawing the first card after this.
Right. Brad,
that is scary.
That is scary. So it is down a card. But Kane's up 3 lands, and maybe that matters.
Because 3 lands are certainly good. And it's looking like the game is over for some reason.
Yeah, actually, Brad Nelson looked at his 7 off memory and chose to concede. So game 1 goes over to Kane Daly. I'm really interested. You know with Brad Nelson that's not a mistake.
No.
No, he knows exactly what he's doing here.
Something like 7 lands. I mean, I'm sure that fight's not worth fighting.
Yeah, that was aggressive. But all right. So Brad Nelson down. Kane Daly takes game 1. Over in the middle matchup, Braun Duin also losing to Nguyen game 1. So we find Anderson, Braun Duin, and Nelson find themselves in a bit of a hole. We'll see what they can do post sideboard when we come back.
Go. Go.
Back here, sideboards are on screen. Both players have kept for a second game. You see, one thing that Brad's doing strategically here, you look at like just a minute to sideboard and that snap concession, he's really prioritizing the clock.
Yes. He's certainly played this matchup a lot, as Brad's known to just play a lot of Magic.
Yeah.
Blue-black generally going to be favored against Grixis in Game 1 configuration. He does have some stuff in the sideboard here, though. Picking up things like that Argul's Bloodfast and Duress.
Yeah. So we'll look at some of those options here. Brad's starting out with... A lot of times this feels like a control matchup where just making land drops is very important. We'll see Duress from Brad. He's going to write the hand down. Only one other land? No. So 3 more lands, commit to memory, search for Escanta, disallow, and Glint Sleeve Siphoner. Pretty good composition of cards here for Kane.
Yeah, these are solid holdings. Most importantly, a bunch of land drops rolled up.
I probably want to get that search for Escanta. Grixis is not good at dealing with enchantments once they're on the board.
No.
And then Brad will go ahead and nuke that one.
It also just provides a mana advantage and card advantage. Just one of the better cards in the matchup.
Glint Sleeve Siphoner for Kane. Not next. There was no Aether Hub, so it's not threatening to draw a card just yet. Next turn it will be worth one. We'll see if Brad answers it before then. And he sure does.
Doomfall.
Well, we'll see. Doomfall. There's 2 modes on this.
Correct.
Picks the creature mode.
Brad's
so,
seeing the hand. It's not impressive.
Yeah. Takes care of Siphoner. So you can... Basically, it's an edict, an exiling edict, or you get a card from their hand.
Generally going to be for the Scarab God, but you do want to get the Siphoner off the battlefield.
And this is another Doomfall for Brad. He has 1 main, 1 board. So now you see both. Can exile away either commit to memory or disallow.
I can see an argument for both. The thing about the current hand is in order to get double blue, Kane will have to use a Field of Ruin. He's probably fine with that. He has backup Field of Ruins. So the disallow is likely alive. The hand's not doing much, so it's possible that Kane's pretty interested in this memory.
Yeah, Brad will take the commit to memory. He was actually pretty... He showed that card a lot of respect last game, too. Just 1 disallow. Pretty sure Brad can play around that.
Right, and the Doomfall Exile, so dealing with spell plus aftermath, is relevant. Whereas commit is fairly similar to disallow in a lot of spots.
Yeah, and he'll use Field of Ruin there.
Turning on that disallow.
Yeah.
And now we'll go back to making land drops.
Brad actually missing a land drop there. So now he's down 1 land. He's going to go for Whirler Virtuoso. That'll get disallowed. A snap disallow from Kane. I'd say probably no lands for Brad. You always have to say probably with him because you never know.
Did pick up 1 this turn,
Yeah,
though.
there's Polluted Delta. No draw spells for either player yet, as Kane's going to thinking about converting another Field of Ruin. Hitting Spire Bluff Canal. You know, if you how much do you know the Grixis list? At what point do you maybe not use the Field of Ruin, hoping that Brad, you're like, oh, I want him to draw another basic because I know it's his last one, or something like that.
Yeah, I think Brad has 5.
Okay.
If that's not exactly stock, it's got to be very close to it.
There's no way you're gonna get them all.
And also, the Spire Bluff Canal, either Brad goes off of red mana or has to find island. Spire Bluff Canal is a lot better than Mountain.
Brad, and this is some neat sequencing. He floats mana, then resolves Field of Ruin, and then casts Glimmer. The small things.
Yes. Yeah, setting up the deck post shuffles, nice.
Yeah.
Getting the land out before you start looking at things.
I would have messed that one up. I'd have cast Glimmer Scry to the bottom, and then I'm like, huh, maybe. I wouldn't have even noticed that I'd screwed it up. So then afterward, I was like, you know, you did that wrong. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, good call. And back over to Brad's side. 2 more lands here. Looks like an Dragon Skull Summit. And he'll just, once again, he's just going to jam for Scarab God.
Ooh.
Oh, and Kane hits it with Censor.
That's gross.
Yep. You hate it when people convert that card. It's just,
Right. I wish that you would have cycled that into a blank, but here we are.
3rd Field of Ruin from Kane. Plays a full 4. Brad's got more basics, at least for now. Up to 4 in play. Kane plays 10 basics, no problems there.
And Brad only has one basic island in the deck, so finds a mountain here.
Still has double blue for now. Actually, it was a Dragon Skull Summit that was hit by Field of Ruin. If Kane had hit the Drowned Catacomb, he could have taken Brad off double blue.
Yeah, I think that would have been worse for Brad.
Yeah, Torrential Gearhulk, you know, being a card. It's likely so.
Also, just not the only double blue spell in the deck.
Glint Sleeve Siphoner from Kane leaves up 4, and this brings him up to 2 energy. If he untaps that, he will get an extra card. Back over to Brad.
The Grixis is definitely heavier on black and red, just the one disallow on the sideboard.
Aether Hub will bring him up on energy again. Six lands in play. Does he have... Can he fight over the Siphoner? We'll see. Or will Kane get more cards? Looks like he's just going to pass and go for a Gearhulk. It's going to get countered by Essence Scatter. That was an upkeep, wanted to get main phase mana. Over on the modern table, Braun Duin takes game 2 over Nguyen. They're going to go to a third. Brad, I think, happy to see his teammate get on the board. This isn't looking good for him either.
No. The Siphoner activation put Kane ahead. Brad kind of ran Kane out of the resources he saw in the early game. You know, fought over some counter spells with some discard spells. The issue is, you know, Kane draws a card every turn, and he's been able to produce answers for all the threats that Brad's tried to deploy since that point.
Yeah, right now just getting that slow card advantage out of Siphoner. Life totals aren't really what's important at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I think both players would be pretty interested in controlling a Necropotence right now.
And we see this out of the sideboard. It's the Consign to Oblivion from Brad. He's going to go ahead and make that one here. Then make a land drop and then cast the Oblivion side of it. So bounces a card for 2, and then for 5, Sorcery Speed Mind Rot. It's pretty expensive for that effect, but in this kind of matchup, you have the time.
Yeah, the fact that you get both cards, very powerful.
Yeah, looks like Commit to Memory and Fatal Push discarded by Kane. And now he'll draw. Last card in hand is going to be, once again, that Siphoner. He's out of cards right now, though.
Could
which
just
means
Siphoner Memory if he was so inclined.
Time to Memory. Actually not. He'll pass. No rush.
Suppose giving Brad 7 cards when you're the one with the Phyrexian Arena would not be ideal.
We'll see if Brad can answer the Siphoner. Brad cycles a land. Any answer yet? We'll see. 2 more mana. Cycles another land.
Well, at least he has redraws, but this is not a productive turn.
Says go. Extra card for Kane. Swings for 2 more energy. That's going to be more cards. 2 cards stand for Kane. Neither of them as a land. Just doesn't play either. Draws them and passes. Back over to Brad. We will go.
Cycled a 3rd land on that turn cycle there. Let's see if Siphoner of his own, but he's certainly behind in this exchange.
Yeah, Siphoner and Aether Hub. He'll have his own energy. Problem is with the arenas is the first player to start drawing extra cards gets, you know, draws the removal spell of the other guy's Siphoner. It kind of compounds. Torrential Gearhulk. Yeah, Brad could not disallow faster.
Yeah, that's certainly an above average removal spell.
And Kane cycles a Censor then. And now more cards. Upkeep extra card. Off Siphoner. Now card for turn. 3 in hand for Kane. Swings for 2. Another energy.
I will say that Glintsleeve Siphoner having Menace makes the Siphoner mirror just less interesting.
All right, updated life totals here, 17 and 14, but does not look like, despite 3 cards, Kane did not hit a way to deal Duress from Brad should get a card out of Kane's hand. He'll Glimmer.
Or maybe not.
I was a little surprised if he had Glimmer that he just didn't main phase that to try to find the removal spell for Siphoner.
Yeah, that line is pretty intriguing. There is a question of how many removal spells are still in the deck post sideboard.
Top, bottom off the Scry. Duress still on the stack. Vraska's Contempt at the Siphoner. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to make this line, you probably wanted to do it before Brad got a bonus card.
Yeah. We'll see what's getting Duressed here. 2 Essence Scatters and a Torrential Gearhulk. Definitely one of those Essence Scatters. Chandra comes down for Brad, kills the Siphoner.
And Chandra Torch of Defiance from Brad. Moves it down to 1, removing Kane's Siphoner.
Yeah, so things clear on the extra cards, though Brad hanging out with the Planeswalker now.
Yeah, and even though it's down to 1, Blue-Black's not a deck that can take advantage of that. It doesn't really have much that's damage-based. You see some good plays, though. Torrential Gearhulk won't be bad from Kane, and he'll just go ahead and flashback Vraska's Contempt, hitting the Chandra. Had a bit of a decision. He could have just gone for Glimmer again there anyway.
Yeah, just glimmering there with the Gearhulk being able to clean up the Chandra. I suppose you're paying respect to getting hit by a Vraska's Contempt, but...
Yeah, Brad down to 9 on the hit.
It's a hard sell for me to not draw extra cards, you know?
Yeah, I always want to target Glimmer. It probably makes me a worse player. And Brad now cycling. He's playing off the top of the deck, but he's just fallen behind on cards.
Yep.
Glimmer of Genius from Brad. Disallow from Kane. Negate from Brad. Wins the fight. He's empty-handed with a Glimmer on the stack. Is it going to resolve, or does Kane have another counter? Looks like it resolves. Both bottom for Brad. Up to 6 energy, draws 2. Does he have anything good?
Well, he's tapped out, so we'll find out later.
Down to 3, yep. Kane says go.
I want to say that Arguel's Bloodfast is in hand, and this is not the time where you want that.
It's not great. Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh, tapping all the mana. Does it resolve? Yes. All right. Brad is in business.
Wow.
Vraska's Contempt. Okay.
I was going to say, we might actually see this card be good.
We'll see. Brad's at 3.
It was a 2-for-1.
It kept him alive. And now Kane just draws and says, go. We're top decking again. Kane starting with more cards and more lands, though. And he has, I believe, a Disallow in hand. So Chandra from Brad, that should get a counter spell. It does not. Kane's saving it for something. He's respecting some other cards for sure.
Shows what you know.
Yeah. Todd Anderson over on the Legacy table picks up a win over Eric Bertelsen. Look at this in Brad. Also Arguel's Bloodfast. Just a lot of things. Fatal Push shoots down the Siphoner. Torrential Gearhulk. All right, and that will do it.
So that's why you don't fight over the Chandra.
It's because you had him dead.
Your Gearhulk's the prize.
So Kane Daly, patience there rewarded, and 2-0, he is the winner over Brad Nelson. So we're going to head over to our modern table, where game 3 looks to be starting between Nguyen and Braun Duin. Lantern versus Scapeshift. Now, Brad has lost, which means pressure's now on Brian.
Yes.
On Brian's side, Leyline of Sanctity on top of the deck. You got to figure that's good. He's got a Pyxis of Pandemonium and a Lantern of Insight.
He's got to do something about this Fracturing Gust.
Oh, wow. He's playing that card.
This one from Shadowmoor.
Okay. So the reason you sometimes see this instead of Ancient Grudge is because Red-Green Scapeshift is actually really can have trouble with hexproof. If you really just want to get that hexproof guy, you play this card and then you beat him. It's also pretty good against Lantern. Oh my.
Yikes.
Yeah. He's got 2 of them in his sideboard today.
2, wow.
Yeah, that's not just one.
Sometimes you see 1. 2 is wild.
Whew.
I guess Hexproof did just recently win a Grand Prix.
Yeah? All right. So we'll see with this on the stack what Brian wants to do. He's about to lose all his things, and
there's not a no regen clause. If he was particularly attached to any of these things and had a word, he could go find a welding jar.
Okay.
Yeah, okay is apt. That would be okay.
You never know. Here is a Word of Invention for 1. Into a Fracturing Gust, okay. Okay, for Welding Jar.
Commander 17, your event is ready again. Please
Which one is he hanging on to, though?
Commander 17, your event
Might be the lantern. It's unclear what Brian's leftovers are.
Do you want to be clear? This is not a Star Elemental token that the Ely Cassis token is. This is from Growth Spasm. This is
I see.
Yeah. This is an Eldrazi spawn.
You don't see a lot of growth spasms.
So it's a 0/1.
If you signed up for the
Top card for Brian is a Glimmer Void. He's not interested in that. He'll go ahead and sacrifice Lantern.
Which is your first and final round, are being posted at the gathering point in the back of the room on green paper. Please make your way to your seats again. 6:30 Legacy Turbo players, your first and final round pairings are being posted at the gathering point on green paper.
And Brian saves the Pixis with the welding jar.
Okay. And Scape Shift from Tien. 7 lands. That's Scape Shift. Brian says, do it. Show me.
Yeah.
He's at 18. Convenient number for Scape Shift. So we need 6 mountains and a Valakut. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the Valakut.
Don't get 2 of those.
Well, he's got a Tribe Skelter. He could do it. But
Yeah,
4,
that needle's
5,
gone.
and 6. 18 damage. All being thrown upstairs. And Brian extends the hand. Eric Bertelsen, Nguyen, and Kane Daly, they take the win, and they move to 6 and 2.